Everybody has a story. Everybody's story matters to God. Nobody gets the story they want, just like right now my story includes these little gnats that God loves, but I do not. What I want to talk to you about for a few moments today is how we're actually all living three stories. There is the story that I want you to think that I'm living. There's the person that I want you to believe me to be. And then there's the story that I think I'm living. My own understanding of the events in my life and their meaning. My own understanding of myself and who I am. And then there's my real story. There's my true self. And that is known only God. And often we don't open our eyes to it. We don't even try to open our eyes to it until crisis or pain or loss forces us to. But we can begin to try to know our true story right now today, and we're going to spend a few moments doing that. I want to look at this idea of the three stories through remarkable words from Dietrich Bonhoeffer. I had a conversation on a previous video you may have seen, or you could take a look at it, with Michael Ware, where he talks about how he's been inspired by Bonhoeffer. But there are words that we didn't talk about that Bonhoeffer wrote very near the end of his life that I want to move to today. This is from Richard Lischer's book, Our Hearts Are Restless. On March 31, 1943, the entire Bonhoeffer clan is gathered at the house in the Charlottenburg district of Berlin. They are all there to celebrate the 75th birthday of the paterfamilias Karl Bonhoeffer. He was a professor of neurology and psychiatry at the University of Berlin. He actually, among other things, was quite well known for his critique of a contemporary of his by the name of Sigmund Freud. He is known throughout Germany for his scholarship. Children and grandchildren perform praise to the Lord. Youngest son Dietrich is at the piano. Elder son Klaus, the jurist, chief legal counsel for Deutsche Lufthansa, makes the toast. This is a very high status family. Then someone else reads a more official greeting, one that sends a chill through the house of Bonhoeffer. In the name of the German people, I bestow on Professor Emeritus Bonhoeffer the Goethe Medal for Art and Science, instituted by President Hindenburg, and it's signed the Führer Adolf Hitler. That message, too, interrupts this celebration. 5 days later, a black Mercedes pulls up to that house, and the youngest son, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, is placed by Gestapo agents into that Mercedes, and he is never again seen publicly. When Bonhoeffer chose his field of theology, it came as a surprise to the family. They were, Lischer writes, not a church-going family. A friend of his said that he entered into theology and only after that learned to become a Christian, to move from theology as an academic exercise to spiritual life as a lived experience. And crisis played a huge role in that because of what was happening in his country, Germany, because of the persecution and, of course, eventually the genocide of millions of Jewish people. And Bonhoeffer knew that God could not tolerate that, and he couldn't either. He went to study in the U.S. for a while. He lived in New York. He actually attended African-American churches in Harlem, and the songs that came out of the African-American experience became a very important part of Bonhoeffer's spiritual life. He ultimately decided that he needed to go back to Germany and to struggle for and suffer along with his people and along with Jewish people. And he led this underground seminary where he wrote a book, Life Together, where he amazingly brought together great wisdom about spiritual formation, way of life together, largely from monastic communities in the Catholic Church, with a very robust evangelical, in the best sense of the word, theology. And wrote his famous book about discipleship, The Cost of Discipleship, with that haunting sentence made more haunting by his life: when Christ calls a man, he bids him come and die. But maybe his journal entries and letters that were saved and eventually retrieved from the concentration camp are some of his most remarkable words. And not long before he died, Bonhoeffer wrote a poem. It has a very different and much more haunting quality than what you find in Life Together or his works on discipleship or ethics. Here we see he is struggling to come to grips with his own story, and this is what he wrote. Who am I? Now, I invite you to ask that question. They tell me they are the people that are looking at the life, that see the life that I want them to see. They often tell me I step from my cell's confinement calmly, cheerfully, firmly, like a squire from his country house. Who am I? They often tell me I used to speak to my warders freely and friendly and clearly, as though it were mine to command. Who am I? They also tell me I bore the days of misfortune equably, smilingly, proudly, like one accustomed to win. I want you to think that's my story. Am I then really that which other men tell of? Or am I only what I myself know of myself? Restless, longing, and sick like a bird in a cage, struggling for breath, as though hands were compressing my throat. Yearning for colors, flowers, the voices of birds, thirsting for words of kindness, neighborliness, tossing in expectations of great events, powerlessly trembling for friends at an infinite distance, weary, empty at praying. This is Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Empty at thinking, at making, faint, ready to say farewell to it all. Who am I? This or the other one? Am I one person today and tomorrow another? Am I both at once? A hypocrite before others and before myself, a contemptible, woebegone weakling? This is Bonhoeffer. Or is something within me like a beaten army, fleeing disorder from victory already achieved? Who am I? They mock me, these lonely questions of mine. Whoever I am, thou knowest. There is the story that I want you to think. They tell me there is the story that I believe, and then there is the true story that God knows. Whoever I am, thou knowest, O God. Whoever I am, thou knowest, O God. I am thine. Very often, it takes a crisis before we're willing to look hard to see reality. Think of the prodigal son, and as long as there's wine, women, and song, he's okay, but it's not till he's starving at the pig trough that he comes to himself. And it's like the scales fall from his eyes. Flannery O'Connor talks about a character, one time a woman, who's described this way. She would have been a good woman if there always would have been somebody present about ready to shoot her. Somebody's getting ready to end my life. It has a way of focusing my attention. And the invitation is not to wait for the crisis, to look at the truth of my story, and to let go of, for a moment, the story that I'm trying to get you to think that's true of me, or even the story that I want, and just say, God, you know, would you tell me, would you reveal to me? What is the meaning of my life? Where am I on wrong paths? So I want to invite you to pray an ancient prayer. Bonhoeffer himself used to pray. This is from Psalm 139. Just take a moment right now to remember God is here, God is present. You can close your eyes if that would be a help to you. And then these words. Search me, God, and know my heart. My deepest desires, what it is that I really long, where they are good and where they are wrong. I invite you, God. Test me or try me and know my anxious thoughts. It's my fears, my worries, trembling, fleeing from a victory already won, where I am afraid, that so often lead me in wrong directions. Fear is underneath so much. God, where's the fear in me? Would you show me now? See if there is any offensive way in me. God, now, as best I can, I'm willing to know, I want to know, what are the habits, what are the patterns, deceit, ego, greed, lust, resentment. And then we don't stop there. There are those verbs asking God to search and examine and test and see, but then lead me in the way everlasting. Help my story, God, to be fitted into your story. I know there are many parts of the script that I do not get to write. I'm not Bonhoeffer. I'm not in a camp. I'm just me. Would you lead me today, God? Would you help my story today? Whatever it is that you're driving, make your story great. With God's help, the real story, the true story. Everybody has a story.
Hey, if you enjoyed that video, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any future teachings from John Ortberg here at Become New. My name's Tim, and I'm a part of the team here. This series is all about stories. Everybody has a story, and everybody's story matters. And we want to know about your story, whether it's a story of coming to faith or a story of spiritual growth. Whatever it is, we're here for you. You can email that to us at connect@becomenew.com, or you can text it to us. You can also sign up for daily reminders whenever we drop a new video via text by texting the word BECOME to the number 855-888-0444. You can also send us prayer requests there. There's a team of us that meet to pray each weekday for viewers just like yourself. If you'd like to receive the emails that go along with each video, be sure to check that out at becomenew.com/subscribe. More than a video to watch, this is really a community to belong to, and we're so glad that you're a part of it. We'll catch you next time.